Hello, everybody. Welcome to our number 6 message here on our series called The 9. If you've been following along with us, you realize that we've been talking about 9 ways of living wisely in our life. And our overarching core verse has been from Proverbs 4, verse 5, that says, get wisdom and develop good judgment. And one of these things I've been saying all the way through has been that wisdom is not something that you get automatically in life. It's not something that's in the genes. You don't inherit it. It's something that you need to be thinking about, developing, opening your heart, your mind, and your soul to as you seek to live life well. Now, again, we've been using a book as part of our basis for this whole series. And it comes from Henry Cloud. He's a Christian psychologist. And the title of his book is called 9 Things You Simply Must Do to Succeed in Love and Life. And we want to encourage you that if you want to do some supplemental reading on this series, this is a great book. This is a great book to read for married couples. This is a great book for you students. This is a great book for any age group as you are trying to say, I want to live life well. I want to navigate these tough issues of life. What are some of those skill sets and wise ways of living that lets me succeed? Now, again, if you're watching this, we want to encourage you that you can watch this now anytime, anywhere. This is our phrase for the summer. We have a TJC app now available in our church. You can download it on the App Store, at the Google Play Store, depending on what platform you have in your mobile device. And you can follow this message series all summer long. And this will be taking us right through the month of July. Now, again, I just want to review the first 5 ways of living wisely before we look today at number 6. And maybe those of you both at the Allison or Brentwood campuses can shout these out along with me. Number 1 is that we need to dig it up. And by that, we simply mean that you take time to go inside and look at the things God has put on your heart, those things that are your dreams, your hopes, even the things you're discontented about, and you look deep within yourself and say, what is it that is inside of me that God wants me to bring out? And again, we're going to live wisely, we need to be willing to do that introspective journey and dig it up. Number 2 is pull the tooth. And this simply means dealing with the negative things in life. That if there are either attitudes or actions that we're encountering with others or we ourselves are displaying to others, we want to deal with those things. We want to either fix them or simply say, enough is enough. We got to stop the insanity. We got to move beyond this negative behavior, this wrong behavior, this sinful behavior. This has got to stop. We're going to pull the tooth. Number 3 is play the movie. And playing the movie is simply living life in a way where you are always thinking about your present day actions and choices, how they will affect the future that is coming regardless, what consequences will your actions today really have, not just for tomorrow, but for both the next season and the next number of years down the road, and even for all of eternity. And as well, using playing the movie thinking to help motivate you to say, if I really want my life to be moving in this direction, if these are the scenes in my life that I really want, then I need to think through what I'm doing today. I need to play that movie out and play out all of my choices. And I think the other thing we also said about play the movie that's worth remembering is that who's your director? Is it you or is it Christ? Now, number 4 that we looked at is the idea of just do something. And this is a call to move from passivity to proactivity, to take ownership and responsibility for your life in all the circles of the life that you have to move through and say, regardless of no matter how at times I'm tempted to feel helpless, I'm tempted to feel that whatever I do is insignificant or not good enough, I still have to hold on to that idea that God has called me to do a good work. And I need to take responsibility for that work. And I need to ultimately say, well, I need to do something. And then last week, if you watched this message, it was act like an ant. And that's simply sort of building off of the do something idea, which is let's do something, but let's make it a manageable something that we can do. Let's not think we can build a skyscraper in one day. Let's not think that we're going to write a book in a week. We need to say, if this is the project that's before me, what can I do today? What's that one grain of sand that I can do today that keeps me moving forward? I need to act like an ant. Well, today we probably come to the most difficult title for our whole series, and it's called Hate Well. Now, again, when you ask people what they really feel like when you say, what do you feel about the word hate? Most people feel like, well, is it even Christian to hate? Is it biblical to hate? Doesn't hate take us down all the wrong roads? Isn't it something that something that we should really avoid? Well, there's certainly that understanding that hate, when it's done in an evil or sinister way, obviously is something that should not be part of our lives. But today, when we talk about hating well, we come to this verse, and it's our key passage for the day. It's Romans 12:9, which says this: love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Isn't it fascinating that here, as we live out our Christian life, and actually, if we're going to love well, we need to hate well too. We need to, hate what is evil. We need to be willing to walk away and name those things that we know that can destroy our souls. So we need to hate what is evil and cling to what is good. Now, when we think about this verse, and as we think about this big idea about living wisely where we hate well, we have to wrestle with two critical questions. The first question is this: what do I hate? What is it that you hate? Now stop and think about that. What do you hate? And then the second question we have to wrestle with is, how do I hate? If I really am called to hate certain things, how will I express that hate so that it's not destructive? It's another way that we can put this is this way. What I hate reveals who I am. It reveals my soul. And how I hate reveals how I will love other people. So what I hate reveals who I am, and how I hate reveals how I will love. Let's, in the next few minutes, unpack these two big ideas, these two critical questions about hate. Let's first of all look at the first question. What do I hate? As we think about this, it has been said that what we love gives a window to our souls. But it can also be said that what we hate gives a window into our soul as well. I mean, for example, what would we say about someone who said, I hate arrogance, I hate lying, I hate innocent people being hurt, I hate people doing evil practices, I hate telling lies, I hate it when people stir up discord in a community. Well, I think that actually you'd be kind of impressed with a person like that. I know I would be, thinking, well, that is what that person hates. I mean, it shows that they have character and that they care and they're compassionate and that they're concerned about the things that are true and just. What's interesting is that when you think about this list that I just said about saying, what would you say about someone who said, I hate these things? This is the very list that is used to describe God himself. If you have your Bibles, in Proverbs 16, verses 16 and 19, this is what we read. There are 6 things the Lord hates. No, 7 things he detests. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that kill the innocent, a heart that plots evil, feet that race to do wrong, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who sows discord in a family. I mean, all through the Bible, there are those moments where we recognize that the God who we know is the God of love is also a God, because he loves and because he's just and because he's holy, is also a God who hates what is evil and what's wrong. In the minor prophet book of Amos 5:15, we read this. This is what the Lord of Israel says. This is what the Lord says to Israel: hate evil and love what is good. So here we hear this call to hate what is wrong. There is a place here for us to feel the very intensity of that emotion. What I'm trying to say is this: we are known for what we hate. It tells a lot about who we are. Henry Cloud, again, in the book that I'm referencing, says this: character is in part formed by what we hate, because we move to be different from whatever that is. Now stop and think about that. I mean, it's just kind of like a boat connected to a dock. If that boat wants to get away from the dock, the person gets in the boat, unhooks the ropes, and then what do? They push away from the dock in order for the boat to make its way into the lake. Well, in a way, that's the same with our character. If we're tied and tethered to things that we know are wrong or evil, and we want to become a different person and move in a different direction, we have to untether ourselves and we have to push away from that place in order to get to a new place. And that's so true for our character, because if we are going to be different, we've got to move away from what is that's wrong in our life. Now let me ask you this question. Just take and pause and think about this for a moment. Or maybe sit and share it with someone else next to you. What is it that you hate? What's your list of 7? God had his list of 7. What's your list? I mean, does your list include this list? Do you hate hard work? Do you hate weakness? Do you hate being interrupted? Do you hate having your plans changed? Do you hate not getting your own way? Do you hate being corrected? Do you hate being out of control? Is that your list of 7 things you hate? What does that tell you about yourself? Or does your list include this? Do you hate dishonesty? Do you hate disrespect? Do you hate oppression? Do you hate the innocent suffering? Do you hate pride? Do you hate self-centeredness? Do you hate greed? I mean, a very good practice to do in your life is to actually come up with the things to say, you know what, this is what I really hate. And then let that be a time of introspection for yourself. You know, when I think of this whole idea of hating well and how it reveals who we really are, I think of David, who wrote in Psalm 101 these words: I will refuse to look at anything vile and vulgar. I hate all who deal crookedly. I will have nothing to do with them. I will reject perverse ideas and stay away from every evil. I will not tolerate people who slander their neighbors. I will not endure conceit and pride. I will search for faithful people to be my companions. Only those who are above reproach will be allowed to serve me. I will not allow deceivers to serve in my house and liars to stay in my presence. I mean, David, when he wrote this psalm, was revealing his heart's desires. He was revealing his soul. And notice that when he just gives a description of the things that he hates, it's not filled with rage and insults and anger and over-the-top statements. It's just a declaration that says, because I hate these things, I'm not going to participate in these things. And again, just to quote Henry Cloud again, he says that the greatest form of hatred is non-participation. So what I want you to wrestle with is, we've taken a moment just to talk about and saying that what I hate reveals who I am. It reveals my soul. And all of us need to take a journey on, okay, what is it, the things that I really hate? Am I hating right now the small things, the minor things, the things that really reveal my self-centeredness, my fear, my anxieties? Or do I hate the things that truly have value in God's kingdom? That I hate the things that I know that push us away from the things of God. That I hate the things that really cause God's heart to be broken and grieved by. Is that what marks my hatred? Now, that brings us now to our second question. So we've talked about, what is it that I hate? Well, now let's talk about, how do I hate? Because how we hate reveals the way we will love. How we hate will determine so much. And I can't help but think that sometimes people who even have got it all figured out about what they need to hate, and it's very God-honoring, and they hate what is evil, and they hate the innocent suffering, and they hate pride. But when they see it, how they express their hatred over those things, it destroys everything. It's interesting that you could make a connection between how we hate and our autoimmune system in our bodies. Cloud uses this as an illustration, and I want to just describe how he puts it. He says hate is a part of the immune system of your soul. He says, look at your physical immune system. It's an amazing part of your body's makeup. Think of what it does. When a bacteria or virus invades our bodies, our immune system identifies it as harmful and moves against it immediately. It confronts the invader and puts up a marker to identify it and describe what it is like. And then your immune system has a cell that then tells the rest of your cells, this is a bad bug, kill it. And the evil cell is immediately surrounded, giving protection to the good cells. The enemy is neutralized, crisis is prevented, all because our autoimmune system knows how to hate viruses and bad bugs. Well, this is what hate does for us at a spiritual level and an emotional level. In the same way that your immune system hates infection, the hate within your character identifies the things in your life as evil. You know, when we hate the evil around us, we will move to get rid of it as an act of love. You know, when we hate well, we're showing love by protecting what we value and what matters most. I mean, stop and think about this. Hating well has this wonderful protective quality about it. When someone we care about is threatened, hate of what's happening to that person because we feel that they're suffering in an innocent way or something's going wrong in their life that they should not be encountering, which rises up within us, that hatred of saying, this is wrong, this has to be dealt with. Guess what? It moves us into what we call a protective mode. But hating well also protects our own souls. It moves us again away from the very things that would destroy it. But remember what we're talking about here right now. How do we hate well? You know, just a minute ago, I was saying that hating is like our autoimmune system in our body. The danger is we may know what to hate, but how to do it without destroying people is really what is the challenge for us. You know, using the autoimmune illustration one step further, I can't help but think that, you know, the people who are studying in medicine, and I think Caitlin would help point this out to me, would be that sometimes one of the worst diseases that people can have is what's called, where their autoimmune system actually starts to attack the healthy cells in the body. With these autoimmune diseases, what begins to happen is that instead of the autoimmune system attacking the disease, it starts attacking parts of the body. Cells are attacked, organs are attacked, and in the process, one's health is completely destroyed. So stop and think about this. The very autoimmune system that's supposed to protect us from evil bugs and viruses is now destroying everything and causing harm. You know, the same thing, though, can happen when people do not hate well. They hate unwisely. I mean, all of a sudden, instead of using our hatred to go after the things that are wrong and evil, all of a sudden we start, in turn, hurting people, our home life, our marriages, our friendships, our work life, because now all of a sudden we have this ugly autoimmune disease in our souls. And that's why it's so important for us to be able to answer this second question as much as we want to answer the first question. You may be able to say, Dave, I know exactly what God wants me to hate in this world. But now the second question is, but how do you hate well when you see it in other people's lives and even when you see it in yourself? So here's how we're going to learn how to hate well. Let's start with this quote from Henry Cloud. He says, successful people, wise people, move against the problem and show love and respect to the person at the same time. Did you hear that? Wise people move against the problem and yet at the very same time show love and respect to the person who's demonstrating that very quality that we know is wrong and evil and that we hate. It's interesting, isn't it, how we see people not hating well and actually being very destructive when something wrong happens, and it's all in their response. I mean, think about the person who gets cut off in traffic. Maybe you've cut someone off in traffic, and all of a sudden you see road rage, and this person is freaking out. Now you stop and think about it. You didn't cause an accident. No one died in the car. Traffic flow's still going. They maybe have been delayed by, 1.3 seconds, yet they're freaking out. And you're wondering, why so much road rage? Well, there's a good example of not hating well or hating in a very poor way. Or again, let's take it to our marriages or to our friendships, where all of a sudden we're frustrated with that other person in this very close relationship we're in. And out of that frustration, instead of us dealing with the problem, we start now, again, hating in a very unwise way, and we start to show sarcasm, put downs, and contempt. Or let's go to our work. We hate the lack of performance of a fellow employee, which again, we have every right to hate the lack of performance, but we do it with disdain and criticisms, and we end up destroying our relationship with that fellow employee. How do we hate well so that rather than hate becoming a destroyer, it needs to still be the defender that it can be? How do we allow our hate to move from what I call a carpet bombing to problem solving with others? Cloud gives us two categories to help us move from hating poorly to hating well so that we stay loving with other people. He says what happens is when we hate unwisely is this. We have moved into what's called subjective hate. And subjective hate is when we just have this pool of feelings and attitudes that resides in our soul, waiting for any opportunity to express itself and jump out. Usually when prodded by some incident that reminds the person of some significant hurt in the past. Maybe, let's just go back to the road rage incident for a second. Why did that person freak out? Well, maybe when they grew up and they were in elementary school and every time they got in line for lunch, the bully in the class pushed them out of the way and cut them off and cut in line and pushed them to the back of the line. And over all those years in their elementary days, they felt hurt and they felt put down, they felt embarrassed, but it never got resolved in their thinking. Well, they've taken that hurt from their past, and now they're in their 30s, and they're driving along in the traffic, and all of a sudden this big, shiny, bully-looking car in their mind cuts them off, and all of a sudden all the hurt that came back, that was resided here in the past, comes flying out in that moment. And everybody thinks they're overreacting. Well, because they are, because it's rooted in what we call this subjective hate, which again is rooted often in past hurts. But also subjective hate can also be produced not just from past hurts, but also from what we can call character problems, in which a person's pride or desire to control or dominate produces strong feelings of hatred when blocked. You see, the only way that you and I are going to begin to learn how to hate well is that we first of all got to take a moment to go inside and go, okay, what is it that's in me right now that I got to dig up? What are the past hurts, or what are some of those character issues that are causing these overreactions or the depression or the anxiety or the relational chaos every time something goes wrong, and I know what I hate, but I'm being destructive in my reaction with people around me. So that's the first step you need to do in order to move into a place where you're saying, I'm learning how to hate well. But the next step you need to take, and you and I need to take, is this. We have to start asking ourselves, how will I love in this moment of dealing with something I hate. Now, did you catch that question? How will I love in this moment while I'm dealing with something I hate? And what you and I have to do is we have to start new habits where we practice at solving the problem instead of attacking the person. Let me give you an example. Henry Cloud, he was counseling a couple where her name was Jody, and according to this story, his name was Tony. And Tony was a spontaneous, carefree husband, which Jody really appreciated as they dated in the early years of marriage. But the shadow side of Tony was that he wasn't organized at all. And so there would be times when Jody would be expecting him to accomplish something and get something done, and he didn't get it done. Or he didn't take care of what she had wanted him to do. And over the time, her frustration with his lack of responsibility degenerated into a lot of emotional, unresolvable accusations against him. She went to a place where she started to call him always irresponsible and always untrustworthy. You see, all of a sudden now, she has every right to be upset about the fact that he has to learn how to be better management of his time and responsibilities. He has to take responsibility for that. But for her to unload on him where she's now saying you're always irresponsible, you're always untrustworthy, she's moved now a place of she knows what she hates, but how she's hating, she's destroying the very person that she says she wants to be married to for the rest of her life. So what do you do? Well, Cloud goes on to say that this is the difference between knowing how to hate well. You know, rather than making a whole lot of emotionally charged, unsolvable accusations, a wise person would address this very issue with Tony in a very different way. They would do it in much more exact terms. They would do it in a calmer tone. They would present it as being solvable instead of being unsolvable. I mean, for example, in this instance, Jody and Tony, apparently Jody had gone to the bank and she had thought Tony had already put the check in the bank account and she was going to write some checks on it, and apparently he forgot, and now she was enraged by it. But a wise person would have described this issue in the following way. They would have said, Tony, we have a problem. And what we have to understand is this, is the other day, Tony, I thought you put the check in the bank account. And yesterday when I tried to use a credit card, it was over the limit because you hadn't put the check in the bank account and therefore the bill wasn't paid for it. And this has happened more than once before. I don't like being caught off guard. So we need to sit down for a while and talk about how we can make sure this does not happen again. I want us to solve this. Now, did you catch the difference? You can sit there, rant, and rage against what you hate and make the person feel unworthy and untrustworthy and destroy the person. Or you can be very laser focused on what the problem is, what you do not like. In fact, you hate this. You hate surprises. You hate poor management. But you still honor the person, show respect to the person, bring the person in to make it solvable. You see, subjective hate is global. You're a complete loser. You're no good. You're untrustworthy. Versus objective hate or healthy hate is very specific. It usually will come down hard on the problem and be soft on the offender. Objective hate always takes a stand against the problem issue, but it also integrates with love for the offending person. Just to make it really simple, if you haven't got all this illustration, it's simply this. Whatever you hate right now, go hard on the issue, but soft on the person. So there we go. There's the two questions today as we think about living well and living wisely. First of all, let me ask you again, what is it that you hate? What will you tolerate in your life? What will you not tolerate? Do you know, if if you tolerate everything, it just simply means that you're going to allow everything that is wrong and evil just to seep into your life. But at some point, you're going to say, I don't want all this in my life. This stuff is tearing me down. It's tearing down my relationships with others. I don't want this evil in my life. Well, then you need to build up those walls a bit. Set some boundaries and say, these are the things that I will not tolerate. And when they try to make their way into my life, I'm going to mark it. I'm going to deal with it. I'm not going to tolerate it. In fact, because I know these are wrong, I hate these things. Remember that what you do not hate, what you choose not to hate, will likely find its way into your life. So that's the first question is, what do you hate? What's your list? But the second question again is this. If you do know what you hate, how are you going to express that hate? Because how we hate will reveal how well we love. And if we're going to love well, we must learn to do in a way that goes hard on the issues, but is gentle and kind on the person. Now, let's be honest. This takes practice. This takes time to address and learning how to talk about the hard things without the subjective anger of our own past hurts or wrong-minded attitudes or character flaws taking over. See, ultimately, if we're going to hate well, we will do it because we want to love well. As Paul says, love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. God bless you all.